Mr. Meola, thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
Let me ask one question at the beginning. You started with Chicorea with Return to Forever band at the age of 19. Some say that with the quick success, ego grows. With the slow success, character grows. So after all these years, if you look back, what do you think about your ego and your character?
Oh, I'm so hard on myself. I mean, I'm not ever in that zone where I feel like I'm the best. Never. I'm always feeling like I could be better. And I've never lost that yearning for wanting to grow and just be on the level that I envision. I do admit I think I've been part of some great projects, and I'm proud of a lot of what I've done. But I've never gotten to that ego level that I think the one you're talking about, where I feel like I'm the best. I don't. I in fact, joining Return to Forever at 19, I was a baby.
Yeah.
In some ways, and I was put in a position. It was almost like God handed me the football, and I could either run with that ball or drop it easily. But I knew I was in a position where I could grow maybe faster in the company of such great players, and I think I did grow faster. But there's just so much to learn, and I always hear myself at another level. Even though I've done a lot of things in the 50 years that I've been doing it. So
can you see yourself from outside?
Sometimes I'm a little hard on myself, as opposed to saying, no, I've done it. I'm there, and I don't care about anything else. No, I care. I care about making whatever record I'm making the best record, or the shows. Like I'm like a lot of musicians actually, who maybe played 80%, 90% of the show great, but they always remember the one or two things that were not, and it bothers them.
Right.
And so it's human nature, and I think for most of us, I don't think I'm so different than a lot of others,
Yeah, staying in the past for one question, because the same year you joined to Return to Forever, you played in front of 40,000 people.
Yeah.
At the age of 19. So how could you handle it?
Well, it was like I said, I got the opportunity to play with my favorite band. It was
crazy,
a very surreal and scary, surreal. I also had the strength to go through it, because I was not yet at the level, but they believed in me. I didn't believe in me. They believed in me. So I had to prove to them that I could do this. So it was at a great time, let's say a better time in life then to expand and grow, because we had no cell phones. We had no computers. The only thing we had was to practice. With cell phones and computers, so much of the day, how about 6, 7 hours of the day, if you add up all the hours in 24 hours that you spend on a cell phone, because there's so many things to look at.
Do you have your cell phone with you now?
Yeah.
Can you see the screen time?
Sure. Well, the day is only, for me, there's still a lot of hours left, but I would average between 5 and 7 hours.
5 and 7. Jesus, that's a lot. Do you miss those times when you didn't have that?
No, well, we would. My point is, you would use that extra time to practice.
Yeah.
So I think that that's what I miss. I miss that, but we can't go backwards.
Right.
You know, there's certain aspects of a cell phone like GPS and business emails and important communications that you glad to have. Also to have a lot of your records on maybe on one device instead of carrying a bag full of cassettes and
Yeah.
CDs like in the old days. So having the cell phone is a necessity, but it's got the flip side, which took a lot of time. It takes a lot of time away from what could be focus on when you're making a record.
Right.
I was making a record with my band some 10 years ago. I'll never forget, on a specific record called Pursuit of Radical Rhapsody. And everyone, as soon as the take was over, they would go in the hallway and check their phones and their computers. Now, before that period, in the 70s, everybody would come into the control room to hear what they just played. It's not like that anymore.
Right.
You know, if you see either my band or Mike's band downstairs, everybody's on their phone,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Still sticking with the 70s and the 80s, very early after Return to Forever went away, and you did a solo album, and then you remained solo artist. So when did the time come when you realized that you are better in solo than as a part of a band?
Well, part of a band, you have to make a lot of compromises. You have to play ball. You have to. Chick was a great leader when I was with Return to Forever. There was a lot to learn. There was a lot of respect, and the difference is I was part of, let's say, a small, let's say, orchestra or group, and the guitar wasn't the feature. Even though the music he wrote was for guitar,
Right.
that was the beautiful part of RTF. But I was, mix-wise, I was very much in the mix, very in, because it was Chick Corea, so the keyboards had to be. But when I made my own records, I really wanted to mix like a rock record with the guitar way up front. And then that was, you know, I think a successful move musically to do. You know, my first record, I was just feeling my way. I had not really arrived as a composer, but I had to make this record because it was to Chick's credit, he pushed all of us to write our own music and do our own record.
Right.
So I was at 19, 20 years old. I was like, well, my God, I don't know if I could do that, but I'm so glad he did because by the time of my second record, Elegant Gypsy, I started to feel that I had a style and I had a sound, and I just kept writing because I came from a compositional band. Return to Forever was not a band of jamming.
Right.
It was a band of great compositions, and within those compositions, we did our thing, but it was a lot of composition, more than the other fusion groups of the time. And I've always maintained the composition being the most important thing.
So you like
Improvisation is not going to hold an audience a whole night, but composition will.
But what do you think about improvisation now?
I think that it's vitally important, but not as important as composition.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Composition holds the attention of the audience. Because if a guy solos, that could be a sax player, it could be a bass player, guitar player, anyone. And if you get too much of somebody showing their stuff, eventually it gets tiring.
Right.
You gotta move on, next section.
Right.
You know, and that's just my philosophy and how I like to conduct my own music and shows.
We can say that you're a very fertile artist. Like
Very what?
very fertile. I mean, you give out. So you publish records, or you published like almost every year.
Well, no, not anymore. I mean,
Not anymore.
This last one took 4 years.
Yeah, but before, when you did it,
It was almost every year.
never you didn't feel ever burnout.
Yes, at times, because usually you would make the record and then followed by a lot of interviews and then tour to support it all over. Okay, and then the minute you were done with the tour, you're already into thinking about the next record and writing for it. Writing the music is the most, time-consuming and important part of it.
Yeah.
And we did have budgets back in the 70s and the 80s that were 20 times greater than the budgets we see now. So, like my last record, I funded half the record, or more than half, because for me it was a piece of art. I wasn't thinking of sales or radio. I was thinking of just making an art piece.
Right.
And it turned out that I had a lot of time because of COVID. So there was a lot of extra time to put into the record.
How did it affect you, the COVID? How did you react as a musician to the pandemic?
To what?
To the pandemic. How did you react as a musician to the pandemic?
Oh, to the pandemic. There was a mixture of relief that I could be home for a long time, and then the obvious one of fear that this pandemic could be much, much worse. There was no stopping to the amount of people that were being affected health-wise. And I was very concerned about it, and we were very lucky to get a vaccine that works. And there's a whole lot of people out there that think the vaccine was a bad thing. They're 100% wrong, because in America we lost over 1 million people. That could have been 20 million people. That could have been 30 million people. The vaccine saved millions of people.
Right. Let's talk about the inspirations. So you actually started with electric guitar.
Yeah.
And then you changed into acoustic guitar because of more jazz influences, maybe.
Well, I saw early on, even as early as 1920, when I was playing with Return to Forever, we always had an acoustic set within the show.
Right.
Chick liked to have that, where we have individual solo spots. So I was kind of forced into doing an acoustic solo. And then that I saw, especially in Europe, more so in Europe than the United States, I saw the future. I'm talking future like 70s, when you're in your 70s, or if I'm in my 80s, or if I was able to go further, that you could play acoustic music. And you could play any kind of acoustic music, maybe more intricate acoustic music, because the audience is almost geared up for appreciating that due to their upbringing with classical music and love of jazz too. So it was a smart move, because I thought, if I only play electric, I cannot see that, at a much later age at a very high volume. Although I'm doing it now, but I don't know how many times I could do this. This may be the last time. I don't know.
Right.
In the States, they really need electric. In Europe, they're very happy with the acoustic. It still feels that way. But I wanted to change things up, especially after last year I had a heart attack on stage.
Last year, on stage.
On stage.
Jesus.
In the middle of a song. So I have 4 stents. It wasn't a big deal. It was just.
It's just a heart attack. You're right. Yeah, it's not a big deal.
It wasn't the kind that you would have died. This is one where I just felt the pain, and then they didn't have to open anything. But it just brought me to the thought of going back to the beginning of my career to try to feel that youth again, in the excitement, in that music at that time. So that's why we're doing this.
How are you feeling today?
Good.
Good.
Just have a wicked pain right here. No.
So you come to Budapest as it was your second home, actually, because you play a lot here.
We're moving here. We gotta get an apartment here, because we're here so often.
Please tell me what you learned from your Italian roots nowadays.
How to cook better and better and better. I'm a chef. I'm a much better chef than guitar player. But my roots were great because we grew up appreciating the finer points of life, not only food, but just fashion. And we had always had music, very melodic and very lyrical music, especially from the Neapolitan region of Italy, which is very rich. It used to be the culture center of all of Europe at that time.
Yeah.
So we're very proud. It's a very proud heritage, and one that it's the
Right.
reason why I kept my name Di Meola and
Yeah.
not a shortened version of something I could have had.
And one more thing, what is the best thing that can happen to you in Jazz Fest Budapest?
The best thing that could happen?
Yeah.
Well, it already happened. I think the audience last night was extremely appreciative in the way that I feel they really get the music. And I could tell the majority, like the overwhelming majority of the 1,800 people or whatever, they grew up with the music.
Yeah.
So they were the true fans that knew the music, I think.
Yeah.
And we're happy to hear it. Some for the first time ever. So that's all I hope for when I play Budapest is that I'm playing in front of fans. But we just had 2 sold-out acoustic shows not so long ago this year, and now we have 2 sold-out electric shows. So it seems like Hungary, out of all of the countries, except maybe Germany, are 2 of the most important countries that really get what I do,
Right.
and welcome me here, which is why, Viktor Orban and myself, we have to have lunch someday.
Tonight you will play with Mike Stern as well. And how you met, I asked him too. And what's your plan?
Well, we don't have a plan, actually, to play together yet, because they played 2 shows last night in Italy, and now they leave early in the morning. So it depends on his energy level. We have nothing actually worked out. And even if we don't play, I'm sure his band he's a great group. And I don't know if we're going to actually, he's going to hang around or I'm going to hang around to the end.
Yeah.
We'll see.